Greetings, the Game Dude. I am a fairly recent subscriber, although I did subscribe to you before you started posting the more serious videos and professing a life change and an attempt to embrace Christ. I want to make that clear because I have been on YouTube making videos about my faith since 2007, and I don't want you to think that I discovered you because of your newfound interest in faith and in the Christian faith in particular. Though that's the only content I tend to produce, it's not the only content I enjoy. And like you, I have a very active sense of humor, and I actually found you through Ed Bassmaster. There was a comment under one of his videos that said you and Ed were the two funniest guys on YouTube. And having not ever heard of you before, I had to go check you out, and sure enough, it didn't take much poking around to get some laughter going on this end. I have three reasons for making this video. One is you bring up what I think is a fallacy. Well, several things you bring up are a fallacy. You're believing a lie about yourself, that the only gift you have is being able to do a prank or crank call. That's obviously untrue to someone like me that doesn't even know you. And just to prove that, if you break down the necessary gifts and components that go into a good prank call, as I've seen them being pulled off by you, you can very quickly conclude that a certain level of brilliance, intelligence is necessary. You cannot, even though you tend to come off as a guy that's, not flexing his intellectual superiority over others, which is good, that shows humility. You are very brilliant, and you can't really hide that, even though you're humble about it. You are a very, very, very intelligent guy. That's very evident to me, and I think it's very evident to your audience. It goes without saying you have an awesome sense of humor, which I wish more Christians had. I feel alone sometimes with the fact that I'm willing to laugh and crack jokes and pursue comedy. I don't pursue it in the sense that I create it, but I pursue it in the sense that I want to listen to it, view it, etc. Your power of influence is amazing. You yourself admit that you've had a guy on the other line quacking like a duck, oinking like a pig. You may think that's a silly gift. And in that context, I would agree with you, but there are managers in corporate America that would love to be able to have that kind of influence with their employees. So don't just dust that off as nothing. You have a genuine sincerity and kindness that I would call a gift, because this is a harsh, cruel world, and especially with all of your circumstances and what you've been through, you really deserve to be a jerk, and you're not. That's saying a lot. It also tells me that you persevere and you have quite a bit of strength to be able to put up with all this stuff and still have that kind of outlook. Last but not least, you're very creative. I consider myself a creative guy, but you put me to shame in just about every category with your particular creativity. Now, just because all of these elements can come together and produce pretty awesome prank call content does not mean you should or could rightly conclude that that's the only thing you could do with those talents and gifts, and that that's the only gift and talent you truly have. Okay? I think you need to hear that, because I really think you believe that prank calling's the only value or gift that you have to offer society, and that's just absolutely not true. It's just one way that you've figured out how to use several gifts, and there's probably hundreds of other applications that those things can have. Now, I also want to say, I'm able, not even really knowing you, to identify these things. If I knew you, if I was your neighbor or friend, I guarantee you I could come up with a list of 20 other things to add to that list that I just gave you. Moving right along, your next claim, and it's true, is life sucks. You are not unique in that, although I don't want to belittle your situation. I, for one, have been blessed to have some of the things that you don't have. But on the other hand, that's not to say that I haven't hit my head against the wall of life and come away bleeding. I don't want to belittle your situation, and I don't want to sit here and say that if I had to wear your shoes, that I wouldn't have the right to complain about it. But in some ways, nothing should surprise us in this life from the Christian point of view, when in the very beginning, the fall, and all the curses that come with the fall are there. There's a reason this is not utopia. We also are taught in our faith in Christian circles that we are not really living for the here and now. We are investing treasure in heaven, and that if we make our investments in that which will rust and die, we are putting it in the wrong place. Now, that's not to say that you can't have any blessings, that you'll never meet the lady for you, that you'll never have relief from your back pain. In fact, I told you in a private message, I will be praying every day for the next 30 days for you in general, but specifically for your back. I want to see if we can't get some saints praying for you and some relief and some healing to be experienced. But yes, life sucks. And the ways in which it sucks for you might be different from the ways in which it sucks for me, but it sucks. I look towards the promises in Scripture where God wipes away every tear, where He sets everything right again. And, Christ offers me a hope that nothing on this planet in the here and now, no home with a white picket fence and a wife and two and a half children and 2 cars, the American supposed dream, can fulfill. And that's the other thing. I think you're putting a lot of stock into how fulfilled you think you could be if you only had this, that, or the other. There are plenty of unfulfilled people that have everything you want, because there's a God-shaped vacuum in all of us, and we always try to fill it with other things. You mentioned alcohol. I can relate to that. I have tried to fill that hole in my past quite a bit with that. It does numb the pain temporarily, but then you wake up the next day, right? Okay, last but not least, you claim that you've asked, you've knocked, and God just does not answer you. And I cry foul on that for more than one reason. I'll highlight just 2. One is He's compelled me more than once now to respond to you. You can go through your inbox, which I'm sure is completely jam-packed full of other notes and other people encouraging you and other Christians encouraging you. But if you couldn't find any of that, which I know you can, you should be able to find my handle, TheEdge012, in your inbox several months ago when you first started posting these serious videos. And then, of course, I've just recently commented yesterday and sent you another private message yesterday, and now here's a video to you. My suspicion is he sent others like me, and he has communicated to you. He has answered you and said, hello, I'm here. Here's one of my servants that is listening to me tell you that, i.e. me, but others as well. And you're just being a typical human being and not counting those instances because you had this expectation of something else. In my message to you, I give you an illustration of a guy it's often told in the form of a joke, but I don't like to tell it in the form of a joke because I really think it has some very serious implications and practical lessons for us to learn. But in the joke, a man is waiting out a flood. He is exercising his faith, and at every attempt of someone rescuing him, he tells them, no, God will save me. He has a rowboat come by when it's just knee deep. He says, no, God will save me. He has a fishing boat come by when he's waist deep, and he says, no, God will save me. Finally, when he's chest deep in the water, he has a helicopter lower down a ladder, and he says, no, God will save me. When he gets into heaven, he says, God, what gives? I exercised faith. I told everybody you would save me, and you didn't. And of course, God says, I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter. What more do you want from me? Be on the lookout for how God is talking to you. He communicates with me through my wife, through my children, through YouTube videos, through billboards on the side of the road, through my thoughts, especially when I'm in prayer, and even through guys like you. You've been an encouragement to me, and your videos that talk about faith have spoken to me. I've got to give God credit for that when I don't even know who you are. And I kind of happened upon your channel because of a comment made underneath Ed Bassmaster's videos. So anyway, give God the credit where credit's deserved, and feel free to touch base with me. I'm nobody, but if you need to talk to nobody, I'm here.